Welcome to ConkCast, Series 2, Episode 1. This was a document or something I began writing in third person to try to write a different style. I'll changing the names of the main three characters. I referred to the oldest as oldest, the middle as middle, and the youngest as youngest, but I gave them names, so we'll see if this works. All right, here we go. There were a few things in her life that caused her anxiety, concern, and a degree of fear, mostly the actions of her younger sister. There were three sisters, and they inherited a 20-acre farm from their maternal grandmother, an amazing woman, a bank president in the 1940s. After a long legal battle against the executors, who tried to sell the property out from under the sisters for next to nothing, they won the case, which lasted for 3 years and took the judge 12 years to render a decision. Instead of going after the executors for legal bills and reparation, the youngest sister, we'll call Liz, sues the oldest sister, who we'll call Courtney, who took over the executor position along with the lawyer. The suit was against the new executors for allowing the middle sister, we're going to call her CJ, to manage the property, because she, the middle sis, wasn't the executor. The eldest was made executor because she was the eldest. The eldest was a musician and artist, extremely emotional and not very pragmatic. The middle sis was much more organized and had managed the property with her future husband ever since the grandmother died. In fact, the middle sis was taking care of the grandmother and had power of attorney for her as well. Almost immediately after the initial case was finally won, Liz calls both sisters and asks to meet. CJ was at work when she got the call, and she calls Courtney, who had just got the call too. Both questioned each other as to what it could be about. They met on the farm by the clock tower. At that moment, Liz was living with her boyfriend. I say boyfriend in quotes because he was 36 years older than she was, definitely not a boy. She was 37, he was 73. The old man owned a house in an affluent incorporated village nearby. The mansion, or main house, grandmother's house, at this time was rented out. Flashback. Soon after the grandmother died, all three sisters moved into the main house. It was a large house built in stages from 1742 to 1898, to the final additions in 1914. There was a lot to do in order to rent the house out to help pay the taxes. The grandmother was a successful businesswoman, a president of a federal savings and loan association, and had her home decorated with all kinds of antiques and collectibles. All of that had to be divided up equally between the sisters. This in itself proved to be a daunting task. Both the youngest and the oldest, Liz and Courtney, had been living elsewhere before grandmother died. They showed up only a few weeks before the grandmother passed. Only CJ was there steadily. All three sisters were in their 20s, all basically 2 years apart at the time of the death. They were 20, 22, and 24. CJ had met her soulmate and was in love. The other two were party animals, staying out all hours of night, drinking, smoking, and doing coke. CJ was the only one who had graduated college, and 6 months after grandmother had died. She was the first person in her immediate family to have graduated college. Neither her mother or father or even her grandmother had graduated, neither her sister either. So CJ would wake up bright and early and make coffee and French toast and cheerfully try to arouse the girls to begin the long process of division. It took forever, and the pettiness was unbelievable. They would put like things together and make 3 piles, then number them 1, 2, 3, and pick a number out of a hat. Then there was renegotiations. I really wanted that pile. Will you trade? Etc., etc. It took forever. When we finally boxed everything up and leftovers were packed and marked LCC, Liz, Courtney, CJ, go through. They rented the mansion. Their father told them in order to pay the taxes, all they had to do was rent the houses and pay the taxes. They found a renter for the mansion and they moved in. As soon as the executors found out, they told them they couldn't rent the house, canceled the contract, and the house stood empty. Long story short, they stopped the sale, entered into a lengthy court case. Now they needed to rent the mansion again, and Liz said her boyfriend would rent it. She met the old man while waitressing a couple of years after grandmother died. At that time, CJ had moved out of the mansion and into the barns because the two sisters were so noisy and stayed up late. CJ had not married yet, but she was seriously involved with her soulmate. Liz was living with the old man, and Courtney was still living in the mansion. Now, Liz would not pay rent till Courtney was not in the building, so Courtney moved into CJ's living room, kitchen, dining room in the barn. This was awkward for the lovers to have Courtney living in their house, staying up all night while CJ wakes up in the morning and needs to make coffee. She's sleeping on the couch. As soon as Courtney moves out, Liz moves her clothes into the mansion. That's it, her clothes. She never moves in. She stops by to change her clothes infrequently. Since no one is in the house, no one knows that they ran out of oil, and all the pipes freeze and the boiler cracks. The old man paid $5,000 a month for 3 months, and then the pipes broke and the house was unlivable. It needed so much work. There were other houses on the farm, and one of them was rented to a man who sold furnaces. So CJ had the tenant provide a furnace for the mansion instead of rent. It was too expensive to fix the whole mansion. At that time, CJ was working at a daycare center, and one of her coworkers was constantly complaining about their rental situation. So CJ suggested they check out the mansion. CJ had the furnace installed, and he did the master bedroom, the kitchen, and the sunroom. As the rent accumulated, another furnace was installed, and bit by bit, the mansion was reborn. CJ's man was instrumental in the renovation of the entire property. He was a house painter and could do anything in his own way, maybe not always the right way. He worked for a restoration business that worked on the Gold Coast, North Shore of Long Island. To include Liz in the renovation, CJ asked if she had a plumber. The old man had a factory in nearby town and sent over his plumber. He did a hack job, ignoring all the special woodwork by installing the pipes on the outside of the walls. Years later, Liz blames sues CJ in part for wrecking the mansion. So bit by bit, CJ and her man restore the mansion until the 25-room mansion has 5 apartments. CJ collected the rents and paid the bills. CJ's man fixed whatever was broken. For a while, Courtney was also helping painting the houses. She painted houses for a living too. She sometimes lived in the house she was fixing. At times, she paid rent. When she wasn't helping, but she always pitched in. Liz helped find a lawyer, her old man's friend, for our fight against the original executors. But working seemed beneath Liz. Old man brought her a fur coat and diamonds, and she never pitched in. So back at the clock tower, Liz drops the bomb. Liz, old man and I would like to rent the mansion for $5,000 a month. Courtney, no way, it's paying all the bills and taxes. CJ, we're already making $6,000 a month. You could move into the white cottage, it's empty, and you could live there free, rent-free. Liz, no, it's not big enough for all my stuff. CJ, put it in storage. Liz, no, I will not put my things in storage. If you don't rent it to me, I will sue you. Courtney, we can't. Wait until we pay off the lawyer's bill, then you can have it. Liz, fine, I'll see you in court. She filed a lawsuit against Courtney and the lawyer executor. CJ was accused of destroying the mansion and stealing $1 million in rent. That's the end of